Hi friends, in today's video we will be continuing our episode number 6, and will be regarding release to Varos in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation. If you are watching my video for the first time, my name is Sriram Sivashankaran and I have been posting videos, documents, articles related to Dynamics 365 F&O on a regular basis, and right now we are into the Varos management series in Dynamics 365, and we are in episode number 6. I'll strongly recommend you to check out the other episodes before you start off this video, in case if you are watching this video for the first time, right? So let's quickly get into this. We have a lot to cover in today's video. So first of all, we at a very high level, and in our episode number 2 we discussed about what exactly release to Varos is, what is shipment, and what is the definition of those, why shipments are created, what is the difference between a shipment and a wave. So all these we discussed in episode number 2. Now, in episode number 6, we will be discussing about how this release to Varos can be processed, and what is the importance of the shipment creation. So, those are the things which we are going to cover. So, for the purpose of this video, I've just made a short presentation. So, let's quickly get into this. So, we are in episode number 6, and the agenda for today's episode is to cover what is release to Varos and how to configure the release to Varos. We will also talk about the fulfillment policy and why this fulfillment policy is required and how the reservation is controlled based on this fulfillment policy. That's what we will see. And then we will also see shipment consolidation policy. So why this shipment consolidation policy is required, we will also quickly see using our WMS app to generate the work. And then we'll also see that demo, and followed by, probably we'll see if we have time, then we will also look into the consolidation template and consolidation workbench, or else we will take this in part 2. So let's quickly get into this. So first of all, what is release to Varos? Like we discussed in our episode number 2, release to Varos is the process of making inventory ready for dispatch processing. So let's take a live example, like you are working in your head office who is processing the sales orders to the customers, and once the sales order is confirmed, you do the reservation based on your reservation hierarchy, and then you authenticate the warehouse worker to pick and dispatch the material. This authentication process, or the process of asking the worker to proceed with picking and dispatching the material, is done through release to arrows. So you're releasing the sales orders or releasing the transfer orders primarily happen through the functionality of using the release to arrows, right? So I know this definition might sound a bit difficult, but let's get into the system and understand it. When you release an order to the warehouse, the system creates a load lines, shipments, or waves. So whenever we release the order lines to the warehouse, so whenever, let's create a live sales order and we'll see how this creates a shipment or wave. That also we will see in quickly in this demo. Also, the release to warehouse generally consists of these three statuses: either it will be open because it has not been released to warehouse, or released if it is fully released to the warehouse, or partially released, which means the order quantity is, until unless entire quantity, even if there is a one quantity which has not been released to warehouse, the status will be partially released. So we will have only these three statuses in a release to warehouse, right? So, but let's get into D365 screen right now to understand what exactly release to arrows means, right? So release to arrows can say this can be done through the separate menu item, which is release to arrows under warehouse management. You can release the sales orders to arrows. We can also release the transfer orders to arrows. But you can also note that there is a separate menu item for release to arrows, right? But I think quickly this will be deprecated. If you go to that menu item, D365 shows a warning message saying release to arrows form is scheduled for deprecation in 10.41. So to work more efficiently, use the latest pages of released sales orders to arrows. So that's why there is an alternative page. Previously, using the same page, we will be able to do the release to arrows process. So it's now D365 is recommending us to use the release sales order to arrows or the separate menu items. And we can, it's also possible to generate these releases by using a batch job. Probably we will take it up in the part 2, not in part 1. So let me quickly get into a sales order. I'll try to create a sales order in the system. So I'll just quickly create a sales order. But also, what I want to highlight on this session is, before getting into sales order, we actually created an item in the system based on our previous episodes. If you are watching from episode 1 to 5, we have already configured a storage dimension, tracking dimensions, and reserve and then reservation hierarchy also I published a document, and then our um, unit sequence group we actually configure, and based on which I already created an item. So we will be using this item going forward in our episodes. So right, that's what I just want to show you. So this is the storage dimension group which we created, where we have enabled WMS. And also, in order to save time, I have just not creating this item. I've already created this item. Reservation hierarchy is also assigned, and you can also see the batch number group and serial number groups are assigned. Then if I go to warehouse, you can also see the unit sequence group which we created, that is also assigned, right? So with this I'm going to create a with this I'm going to create a sales order for this item. Let me go to accounts receivable, all sales orders. So you need to create an item, complete a purchasing for the item, and make sure that the stock is available in your inventory. So with that we will be creating a um, sales order, sorry, we'll be creating a sales order. In the warehouse 24 we have stock, and then I'll click on OK. um, so I found, I think there are already one more item which is available in the system, so let me take as 10 quantity. Okay, then two, okay, that is fine. There is one more item which is A0, yeah, this is item 001, and let me take it as 4 quantity. Then now I'll click on confirm. So before I confirm, you can see that under sales order header line section you can see the release status is open, right? So it is not yet released. So also you can see there is a default fulfillment policy which is actually assigned as 80%. Let's not focus on this right now, but I'll let you know what exactly this means. So now I go to sell, and then I'll click on confirm now. Right. So moment we confirm the sales order, typically the sales order confirmation process happens the same way and similar to a normal warehouse. But what happens in case of release to warehouse? What you need, the user has to confirm the sales order and then complete the reservation. So this is where the reservation hierarchy comes into picture. So I'll get into the inventory tab and I need to do the reservation, because like I explained in the document, whatever the dimensions which are above location, user who is sitting in the head office, or user who is creating the sales order will be able to reserve it. So the dimensions as per this reservation hierarchy, site, warehouse, and inventory and batch numbers are the dimensions which are above location. So I will be able to reserve the inventory up to this. So let's say I want to take five quantity from this stock, and then five quantity from this batch. So you can see the on order, the quantity will move from on order to reserve physical. I entered five quantity and five quantity, and then you can see the 10 quantity is actually reserved. Now I'll go back, but for this item I'm not reserving any quantity as of now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm go to warehouse, and then I'll click on release to warehouse. But the moment I click on release to warehouse, it's not going to release the item, because you can see for this item AWMS we actually completed our reservation, but for this item we have not completed the reservation, which that's why the D365 is showing an error message saying a fulfillment rate of 80%, it is actually 80%, was not met for sales order 001093, right? So but you can see the other item for which the shipment is created. So USM of 0014 is the shipment which is created for this item. So if I click on this, and then if I click on warehouse and click on shipment details, I can view the I can view the shipment ID which is created for the item, right? So for five quantity and five quantity this is created. But for the other line, if I click on the other line and I click on warehouse, for this the shipment is not created, right? So the reason is because of the fulfillment policy. So now let's try to understand what is fulfillment policy, right? And also there is a batch job which is running in the background which will generate the work. So for example, if I go to warehouse, click on work details, so no work is being generated. So actually I need to uh, line. So now it is getting completed. But before to that, well, let's try to understand first of all what is the fulfillment rate. So next slide is about the shipment fulfillment rate. First of all, for we need to know what exactly a shipment is, right? We discussed about this in episode number 2. A shipment is a group of order lines for the same customer or the same delivery address. So let's say all the sales order lines, sales order 1, 2, and 3, all of which is goes to the same customer, then it the as same customer or the same delivery address. So that is actually called shipment in D365 terminology. But what is exactly fulfillment policy? This is what the error which we got, right? So it is saying fulfillment rate was not met for sales order, which is the policy control. This is basically a policy which controls the percentage of total price or the total quantity of an order that must be reserved physical before a sales order can be released to warehouse, right? So with this means we are basically creating a policy for the order lines against a customer or against a legal entity or against a warehouse, based on which, if that particular policy is met, then you will be able to release the quantity to the warehouse. So yeah, release the quantity to the warehouse. So let's see this, how this can be configured. So in order to configure this, you need to get into warehouse management, then click on setup, then under release to warehouse, we have option called fulfillment policies. Click on fulfillment policies, and we have configured a fulfillment policy for 80%. Let's try to configure another fulfillment policy. Let's say this policy is for 60%. I just configure this so that whenever there is a reservation happens for 60% of the quantity, I should be able to process the release to arrows for this item, right? So I'll keep the rate as 60%. And then value type is basically defines whether you want to calculate this value, the percentage, based on the price or on the quantity. So this will basically take the price on the net amount of value. Overall, what is the value of the sales order on which, if you have reserved 60% of it, then you will be allowed to release it to the warehouse. So if I pick quantity, then whatever, if I have given 10 quantity in the sales order, until unless I reserve 6 quantity, I will not be able to process it for releasing it to warehouse. And a violation message can be accept, or you can give us warning, or it can give it as error. Actually, I think in 80% case we have given it as a warning, so that's why it was showing as a warning. And then 60% case, let's say we want to give it as a error. And then I'll save this so that it will not allow us to proceed further. So once if you create the fulfillment policy, you need to ensure that the percent whatever you have given for that, the reservation has to happen one way or the other, right? So also, once you created the fulfillment policy, then you can assign this at a customer level. For example, if you go to all customer master, there is an option under warehouse section. I think that's where you can assign it. So you can assign it at the customer level, or you can assign it at the legal entity level, which will be applicable for all the customers. So you can assign the fulfillment policy for a specific customer at over here. So here it will show us whatever we have created, 60% fulfillment or 80% fulfillment. So whenever any sales order created for this customer, it will expect a fulfillment policy of whatever we have assigned over here. Or you can also do it at parameter level, which will be applicable for all the customers which are in the entity of USMF. If you get into warehouse management, yeah, so here are the parameter we have actually configured for 80% fulfillment rate. So that's why it was actually checking for 80% fulfillment, right? So let me change this to 60% fulfillment. Then I will save this. So now this 60% is applicable for all the sales orders which we create in the legal entity USMF, right? So let me get into the all sales orders. Then let me quickly create a new sales order, um, so that it really, so the system is going to ask for 60% fulfillment rate. um, 24. I'll click on OK. Now I'm going to add the same item, WMS 1010. Let me give us 10 quantity, and then I'll add another item also, A001, and then I'll give 10 quantity for here also. um, Now let me save it. Then I'll confirm this sales order. Now, after confirming the sales order, now what we are going to do is we will try to reserve four quantity in each, right? And then we'll try to attempt for a release to arrows. System should actually throw an error because 60% of 10 is 6, but we are trying to reserve four quantity, and we will try to process this order. Let's see what is the message we are getting, right? For the first item, reserved four quantity, and for the next item also, I'm going to reserve four quantity. I'll go back. Now I'll go to warehouse. Now I'm going to click on release to warehouse. Now if I click on release to warehouse, system should actually throw me the an error. Currently the fulfillment policy, it has taken 60% because that's what we have given it in the account receivable parameter, and the release to warehouse release status is open, right? So I'll click on release to warehouse. Right. So as expected, we got an error message saying a fulfillment rate of 60 was not met for the sales order, and it is actually an error message, right? So now what we have to do is I'll close this error message. I'll click on inventory, then I'll go to reservation. I'll complete the reservation for 10 quantity. I'll go back. I'll complete the reservation for this item also. Inventory reservation. So I'll pick another 6 quantity from this batch. So if this 10 quantity is actually reserved, so now we should not get any error message, and we should be able to complete the release to warehouse, and shipment ID should be created, right? So I'll click on release to warehouse. So now, as expected, we didn't get any error message, and the release to warehouse is processed, and the shipment ID is created. So you can see one shipment have been created. So in the one shipment, because it is going to same customer and the same delivery address, right? So now let us. You can also navigate to shipment from over here. If you click on warehouse, you can click on and you can get to know about shipment details. Now, if I click on work details, actually the work is not generated. The batch job has to get completed, and then only the work will be generated. Where the warehouse worker has to pick the material and complete the put away process. So the batch job has to get completed. But if you get into the shipment ID from here, from the sales order form, or you can also navigate to shipment from warehouse management and shipments, and also all shipments, you can also navigate from this form, right? So either way, you can go to this and you can see the overall shipment, what is the volume weight of the shipment, and then based on the delivery terms, all the maybe shipping carrier part we will take it up later, and the mode of delivery based on which you can group the shipments. And the load lines are coming over here because this is actually coming from two different batches, that's why it got splitted. And whatever the load lines which are applicable, which will be available over here. So from this page you will be able to perform consolidation of the shipments. I'll also tell you what is consolidation of shipment means. You can confirm the shipment and then proceed for uh, picking the item and then dispatching it, right? So I'll just, because right now you can see the shipment status is waived, which means the item is actually for the multiple sales order lines we have created a shipment which will be processed in the warehouse. So I'll click on confirm shipment. You can see the shipment for load could not be confirmed because all work for the load was okay. So the work is actually generated right now. You can see the badge at the notification pane. We also got a message like the batch job execute wave completed successfully, right? So now let me go back. I think now we might the work must have been generated. First I'll close the messages on the top. So now if I go to warehouse, I click on work details, the batch job is completed. So now you can see the work is also generated for the items, right? So the work is generated. We have the load ID, shipment ID, and also the wave which is getting wave ID in the system. So this is now absolutely clear for us, right? So using the release to warehouse, we actually process. We also created a fulfillment policy. Based on the fulfillment policy, we released the item to the warehouse, and based on that, when the wave process is completed, it actually created the work for the person who is sitting in the warehouse, right? So now the person who is sitting in the warehouse need to open the uh, warehouse application and complete this pick and put operations. But let's not get into that right now. But let's try to understand this. So that's what I have written over here. You can set up a policy for a legal entity or for a customer. This fulfillment policy for reservation can be controlled at the warehouse level also. I have not showed this, so let me show you that also. This can be controlled at the warehouse level also, the fulfillment policy. So what you have to do is go get into warehouse management, then get into setup, navigate to warehouse and all warehouses. Whatever the warehouse you for which you want to configure this fulfillment policy, just select the appropriate warehouse. Then under the warehouse first tab, there is an option called requirement for inventory reservation. So this actually controls the partial reservation of order lines before it can be released to warehouse. So here we don't have an option to configure it based on the percent or quantity, but we have only three options. This is basically an enum which controls the release of items to the warehouse. This will be, if you have kept it as not applicable, then whatever, whether you have reserved it or not, you will be able to release the items to the warehouse, allow partial reservation, or require, if you keep it as require full reservation. So until unless all the sales order lines for all the quantity, if it is not reserved, you will not be able to process the release to warehouse. Right, so order lines will not be able to released. So that's what it exactly means. So this can be configured at the warehouse level also. Right, so this is what shipment and fulfillment policy exactly means. And then we also saw the option of shipment consolidation. So why the shipment consolidation is necessary? So imagine that, let's say we have a sales order 1, sales order 2, sales order 3, and we may have up to sale n number of sales orders. So there will be certain number of sales orders which are going to customer A, and there are other sales orders which are going to customer B. So we said that shipment is, by definition, shipment means which is going to the same customer or for the same delivery location, right? So until unless we consolidate it, it doesn't make sense for the doesn't make sense to create a shipment. Let's say the sales order 1, 2, and 3 are going to the same customer A, and we need to consolidate it, and then we need to make sure that it is getting loaded into the truck, so that the truck gets it delivered to customer A, goes to customer A first, and delivers the shipment of whatever applicable to that particular address, and then it goes to customer B, and then whatever applicable to customer B from sales order 4, 5, and 6, it will be able to deliver it. Likewise, it will be able to deliver multiple customers from the single truck, because doesn't make sense until unless we have a full truck to have a deliver to one specific customer, right? So the same load can contain multiple shipments. So a single shipment can have multiple sales orders. That's what primarily it means. So once again, I will repeat the statement. A same load can contain multiple shipments, like shipment 1, shipment 2, shipment 3, which goes to customer A, B, and C. And one shipment can contain multiple sales order lines. So this is what primarily the fundamental definition of shipment, load, and sales order, sorry, release to warehouse actually means, right? So this is where the concept of shipment consolidation comes into picture, right? So we need to ensure that the shipment consolidation process that uses shipment consolidation policies, which allows for automated shipment consolidation during automated or manual release to warehouse. So I'll recommend you to pause this video and go through the definition whatever I have written over here. But that's the reason we want to consolidate the shipment. And if we get into the D365 screen, um, I'll show you the shipment, all shipments. So whatever the shipment which we created right now, you can see this is the shipment which we created right now. So from the shipment form also, we will be able to consolidate the shipment. So that's why if you want to consolidate the shipments and then proceed for processing it should be absolutely fine. You will be able to consolidate it, and then you can use it for completing the picking and putting operation, and then transfer it to the existing load or create a new load, which primarily means, if you want to, if there is a load which is already created in the system, if a load is already created in the system, you can transfer it to an existing load or you can create a new load. So those are the options which are possible by using the consolidate shipment option, right? But when you click on consolidate shipment, first of all, what happens, against the same delivery address, system is first of all trying to show you whatever the IDs which are available. So if I go back, so from 115, we will be able to consolidate it with these specific sales orders only, these specific shipments only, because these are actually going to the same customer on the same delivery address. So that's why it is not showing the other sales order number. The order number refers to the sales order numbers. So let's say if I want to consolidate with 113 and 114, then I'll hit the OK button. Now D365 will consolidate along with 113 and 114. Is now those order lines are also now consolidated with 115. So once I process this shipment 115, it is going to it is actually going to complete the pick and put operations, and then the user will be able to load it in the same delivery. So we have actually consolidated it with 113 and 115. So those numbers are missing. You can see there is a gap between 112. After that, 113 and 115, 114 are not there. So we have actually consolidated with 1 and 5, right? So now, since we have completed the consolidation, now we need to understand how exactly this can be made automized, or what is the policy which can drive this, right? So in order to configure that, you have to navigate to uh, release to arrows, then shipment consolidation policies. So this is where you will define how to consolidate the shipments. So first of all, I have not created any shipment consolidation policies. If you're coming to this page for the first time, then just simply click on new. So this way throws a prompt saying this is will be enabled. The consolidation policy will be enabled. So do you want to continue? Yes. Just click on yes. So the first time you just provide a policy name SO consolidation and one. I'm just giving a name consolidation, and then the policy sequence actually defines the the order in which the system should check and take the appropriate policy sequence. So you can define a number of policy sequence, and whatever is on the top will be taken as the priority number one. You can all use the option move up or move down, based on which you can play with the number policies whichever available over here. And if you are creating for the first time, I will just you to use the create default setup. The moment you click on create default setup, you can see the shipment. You can have the selected fields. This is a similar grid which we saw in reservation hierarchy also. You can, what are the options which are available over here, based on which the shipments will be consolidated. Account number refers to the customer account number, delivery, recipient, and then postal address and warehouse. So basically, if you see, whenever I select these options, this left icon is not enabled, which means these four are mandatory for consolidation, based on which the grouping policy or the grouping engine runs. So if you want an additional grouping to happen, let's say site, I so whenever if I create a policy and assign this policy, so whenever the sales orders are created, so the system is going to check, hey, okay, you want us to consolidate based on account number, site, warehouse, and then postal address. System, based on these logic, system will do the consolidation, and it will show us what are the applicable sales orders for in order to perform the consolidation, right? or or it can be order number. Generally system, it's not recommended to use. So these are the options which are available. I think you can also use the route code is also important, in which you can consolidate the shipments. And if you want to add further more details, you can use the edit query option, where you can add the further filtering criterias. If you want to add a specific customer account, whenever there is a specific customer account based on which you want to consolidate, you can do it. Or if you want to use any of the dimensions for any inventory dimension, maybe location, if you want to use, you can use the location based on which you can consolidate. This is actually used for further I would say further criterias if you want to add. So right now you can see it is actually policy sequences 2. If I click on move up, the default has become a policy sequence 1. So always system is going to check, use the policy which is having the sequence 1, and it will evaluate the criteria which is applicable, and then it is going to check the policy number 2. So shipment consolidation policies are very important whenever you want to do a consolidation. So based on which only system will do a consolidation and proceed for shipment. So this is why consolidating is important. So until unless you consolidate, you will not be able to dispatch it in a single load. So that's what we saw here basically. So shipment can have multiple sales orders in one shipment, which is going to the same customer or same delivery address. So that's where we will be able to consolidate it, right? So template, probably they will not get into the template right now because it's already a long video. So overall, what we saw is, so we saw the release to arrows, and then we saw the concept of how the release to arrows will help you to process the materials to the warehouse. And then based on the release to arrows, you will be able to configure the fulfillment policies, because reservation is important whenever you process the release to arrows. So based on the reservation, you will be able to release it to the warehouses applicable, and the warehouse worker who is actually performing the um, operation will be able to complete the workship pick and put operations. So let's say I'll open the warehouse management app. We also saw how to configure this warehouse management app in the episode number 5. Please check out the same, so that it will be easy for you to understand this. So I'll just quickly show you how to do this work also. um, okay, I need to, system is asking me to enter an ID. I will just close this. So this is the picking page, which we, let's imagine this is the mobile device which we have in our system, right? So now it is asking me to confirm. Now I need to, let's say I'm a warehouse worker who is sitting in the warehouse. I need to complete the picking operation. So I'll click on sales picking, and it is asking me for the work ID or the license plate ID. So let me, if I don't have a scan device, so I'm going to copy this work ID, then I'll put it over here. So it clearly says this is the item ID and this is a cable, and 10 pieces need to be completed for picking operation. And you can also do a partial picking. If I scroll to the left, it can also, we can also do a short pick. Now I'll scroll to the right. So it is asking me for the license plate. So for the license plate, let me open this item because I'm not sure about the on hand. So I'll just quickly check what is the on hand inventory available for this item. um, Product, and then manage inventory, on hand inventory. Let me enable the dimensions also. I have only site and warehouse. I'm going to enable location, license plate. I'll hit the OK button. Okay, and then so so let me use this license plate where we have 10 quantity, right? So scan the license plate. I'll put the license plate ID. So deliver to put location. So this is where it is going to complete. Put location is bay door, and we know that it has, we have to pick it from FL01. We need to put it in bay door location, right? So I'll just simply hit the OK button, and then it will ask me for the, yeah. So I think the work is completed. So let us refresh this page. I'll just first copy this license plate, and then I'll refresh this page. Then once again I'll filter this based on the license plate. So now you can see the two quantity. I'll go to the transactions to check it. Yeah, so the work has been completed and it has been picked, right? So that's why it is reflecting as -10. It is actually part of the sales order 1094, which is the one which we created, and the work is actually completed. So now let me go back. Then if I check the work in the sales order, currently it is in open status. Let me refresh it. So this is closed. So done by the user ID Sriram, and it has been picked and put in the appropriate place, right? So target license plate is also the same in this case. So that's fine. So this is how, maybe we will get into the details of this work when we get into the session regarding work template. But I just want to show you this is how the work will be performed by the warehouse user using the mobile application device, right? So that's it for today. So we saw, like I discussed, we saw about release to warehouse and how to do it. We also saw how to configure the fulfillment policy, and we also saw the shipment consolidation and how to create a shipment consolidation policy. We also saw a quick demo on using the WMS app and how the work is getting completed. So in the next part 2 we will cover the consolidation template, why it is template is required, how we can use workbench to complete the process of consolidation, and what are the various options which are available in D365 to perform the release to warehouse. What we saw is we just completed the release to warehouse using the sales order form, but there are other options which are available in order to complete the release to warehouse process, which we will take it up in the session number 2, part 2 of this release to warehouse, right? So that's what in the episode number 7 we will cover the part 2, and episode number 8 we will cover the wave or the waving process, right? So that's it for today. If you want to get regular updates, please do follow my profile. If you are using LinkedIn, make sure that you follow my profile, or if you are using YouTube, just ensure that you subscribe to the channel, right? Thanks for watching this video. Hope to see you in another interesting topic tomorrow.